Hello there, and today we're going to be talking about how many teenagers are struggling with mental health issues. When we talk about mental health, what are we really using to define that? What is it, and how big of a challenge or problem is it? We'll be covering that in today's video. When we're talking about how many students are dealing with mental health issues, we're going to be talking in terms of social media. We're going to be talking in terms of stress, of loneliness and hopelessness, of signs of what a mental health problem really is, and then what we can do about it. So those will be the kind of areas that we're going to need to talk about to really adequately answer that question: how many kids are struggling with mental health? So that's what we'll be covering in this video. Social media is an issue for teenagers regarding mental health. Is increasing amount of research showing how the addiction to social media and the constant comparison and this trap that they get into is anxiety inducing. The more kids are on social media and using it, the higher rates of loneliness and depression and anxiety. The numbers that coming in, a lot of the research that Jonathan Haidt has done is disturbing, quite frankly. It's shocking. And there's been some debate about whether it's causative or correlative. And it seems like, again, Dr. John Haidt has been saying that he thinks there's enough evidence to show that it's causative. Regardless, even if it's highly correlative, there is a problem with social media and the rates of mental health issues. So that's something you really need to begin to think about and look at and try to do a time analysis, a audit to find out how much social media time are you or your teenagers using. Awareness is the first step in righting the ship if it's floundering. The fact that we have a lot of students self-identifying that they have their anxiety is interfering with their ability to perform daily functions. Same with depression. The stress that they are experiencing, chronic stress, not use stress, right? This is stress that's not good. Some stress is good, but we're talking about kids who are feeling it on a daily basis over extended periods of time. Academic pressures, athletic pressures, trying to get in the right college, social pressures, trying to fit in, relationship, girlfriend, boyfriend issues, stressors that are going on at home. All of these things, kids are being ill-equipped to handle and are self-reporting issues around that are impacting their daily life. This is something that the numbers are getting higher and higher, have been going up for a number of years now, and it's what many people call an epidemic. So we've got to wake up to this so we can begin to figure out how to best help them. Again, awareness is the first step in trying to understand the stressors that your teenagers are feeling. More and more students are self-reporting anxiety, depression, high levels of stress related to trying to get in the right college, academic pressures, social pressures, athletic pressures. They are self-reporting that it's influencing their ability to live their daily life. We had a student come into our program whose anxiety was such that she had a hard time attending school. And when she did attend, she wasn't really emotionally attending, would often have to leave classes because the anxiety was just getting to her. Her grades obviously suffered, her relationships obviously suffered. All this was a problem. So part of our job was helping try to, within the context of our classroom setting, where we are still teaching the academics things. We had to break down some of these barriers, some of these beliefs he had, some of these issues. Well, we were able to do that. And this student, by the time, so this is in 8th grade, by the time she was getting ready to go uh, junior year, looking at colleges, she realized she wanted to apply for a top college, like a high demand college, 7% acceptance rate at this college. And she got in. She was able to develop the skill set necessary to manage that anxiety level. And that is something that is is teachable, it's learnable, it's something that we need to help students with. Many students don't get that kind of help, and this anxiety, the stress, and all the negative that they're seeing and the comparisons that they're doing on social media and the news that they hear, that becomes almost overwhelming for them, and they experience loneliness and hopelessness. Can you imagine? Like when you're having 40% of teenagers report persistent feelings of hopelessness, that's a dangerously high number. And that is a number that came from the CDC. So it's happening. And, there's some old numbers, old statistics about for every negative that you hear, you need to hear 3 positives. So when kids are hearing lots of negatives, the news is all bad. Everything they're watching is bad. They're seeing, people taking videos of bad things going on, and lots of people like filming people getting attacked and bullied and harassed, and they're watching these videos. It shouldn't be that surprising that with all that negativity, loneliness and hopelessness can develop. So we've got to become more aware of what's going on and begin to recognize some of these signs. So what are some of these warning signs? Well, changes in some behavioral patterns, more irritability, easily frustrated, lashing out more frequently, losing interest in some of the things they used to do, not showing that same level of motivation, the moodiness, right? You're seeing that also showing up potentially in how they're carrying themselves. They feel like they got more weight on their shoulders, so you might actually see that physiologically, right? Like their shoulders might droop a little more. Little things like that are indications that the stress, these mental health kind of related, these are symptoms of that. So being aware of it can then begin to open up the conversations and the interventions that need to be put into place to help the child develop the skills to be able to manage that and deal with that effectively and healthfully. For years, working in public schools, my job was I worked with kids, middle school kids primarily. I worked with some high school kids too, but was to shift mindsets. And one of the common factors that students who were coming to my programs had were emotional challenges that manifest itself into poor behavior. So could it be acting out behavior? Although for the last number of years, that was less than internal like behaviors where they would shut down, they would give up, those kind of behaviors versus acting out. But it was some of these symptoms that we were talking about, anxiety, so they just couldn't stand going to school or being in the classroom. So these kind of symptoms that we're beginning to see. So we had a small group setting, and we had to begin to break down a lot of the beliefs and give them some habits for dealing with stress and how to deal with it. There is a lot of things we can do with our own language, asking different questions to interrupt patterns of thinking, begin to teach simple things like breathing techniques, changes in their posture, their body language, positive affirmations. Again, to interrupt negative patterns, asking, how do you do that? Do what? How is it that you keep beating yourself up verbally like that? Like, how do you decide to do that? And just asking that question, that how question, forces them to go inside to try to figure out, because they don't know how, they just do it. And once they've done that, you can then embed a positive suggestion like, because you easily could begin to see yourself, all these correct answers you're getting instead of the ones you got not correct. And I'm also building in this idea of correct. So there's little things you can learn to do as a parent that can help interrupt these negative patterns of thinking. Let me tell you a couple stories about two different people. One of them I just mentioned actually was a woman young lady, middle school, 8th grader, who had high anxiety. I had another student, actually a couple years older than her, who lots of issues with family, no family history at all of success in school. And we began to break these down and teach them some skills. Well, both of these students lost siblings when they were college age or just out of college even. And both of us said that what got them through that grieving process were some of the skill sets that we helped them develop back in middle school. So learning things like breathing techniques and meditation, mindfulness, all these are invaluable skills to manage your mental health. Well, we just finished another video on a very important topic. I hope you take something and value that. And if you recognize any of these in your child, seek some help, get that help. I would love to hear some comments too from you. Share some experiences, like this, share this, but engage. It's important. I love the feedback also, so any kind of feedback that way would be wonderful. But I encourage you to make some comments and share your stories as well. And I'll see you in the next video.